Excellent. What is up, guys? It's McMahon Chief Fan here. Welcome back to another video. And today I'm going to be doing a video, like another book rant, pretty much. Though, I want to give my final wrap-up for SalingerVember, which is going to be very interesting. So, I have a lot to talk about. I already did this recording once, and I said, it's not that good, so I scrapped it, and I'm doing this one now. So anyway, I'm not going to go on any longer. Let's get into the video. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to be doing my wrap-up of SalingerVember, which I read the entire works of J.D. Salinger with Peter over at Peter Likes Books. And I've come to a realization, guys. The Catcher in the Rye is no longer my favorite book of all time. This is probably an important thing for me as a reader, because I'm finding new books that I would call my favorite. I had a feeling after, having it settle in for a year, I knew that this wouldn't be my favorite book of all time for the rest of my life, even though it'll still have a special place in my heart. But The Catcher in the Rye is a great, great book. Not saying it's bad at all. It's still, probably in, my lower half of the top 10 list, but honestly, it's not perfect. And I think it's just so flawed at this point that if I acknowledge that it's flawed, very flawed, then I can't keep it as my favorite book. My major problem with The Catcher in the Rye is the fact that it really is all Holden. If you take out Holden, this book is nothing. And it does work like that. It's still great, but there has to be more. There has to be more in a book than just one character. Because then you just have a boring book because you're only settling on one character to drive you throughout the entire book. And don't be wrong, Salinger did the best possible job with this premise, but honestly, I was about to say I wasn't a fan of it, oh god. But it's amazing, but not favorite book of all time amazing. So, I gotta settle that down for now. Sorry. I don't know. But then there's the remainder of SalingerVember, which I still think of The Catcher in the Rye as a masterpiece, just not the masterpiece. I still love 9 stories. I think it's a fantastic short story collection. But then, Franny and Zoe and Raise High the Root Beam Carpenters and Seymour in Introduction. Thumbs down. Wait, what? Thumbs down. Am I Siskel and Ebert? This is not my rating system. But I gave them both a 2 out of 5 stars for my new ratings, which is strange because I remember having Raise High the Root Beam Carpenters and Seymour in Introduction at a 4.5 out of 5 stars at one point. That's like a 9 out of 10. What happened? Well, that's the reason. That's what I want to talk about today. Is that I personally think that the Glass family killed Salinger's bibliography. He honestly could have been an amazing author, and honestly, if you ask me, Salinger just had one amazing novel, The Catcher in the Rye, a couple great short stories, like A Perfect Day for Banana Fish, and For Esme with Love and Squalor. That was a fantastic short story, but Franny and Zoe was really bad, in my opinion. I thought that was one of the most boring books I've read in a long while. And then the Raise High the Root Beam Carpenters and Seymour Introduction was just as boring. They're just forgettable books. They didn't do anything for me. And the characters that Salinger creates for the Glass family just never impacted me in a way that was, significant, how Holden Caulfield did. So, maybe this is because he went out having the greatest character of all time, which I still think Holden is the greatest character of all time. Even though it's not my favorite book anymore, but it's just disappointing that that a person who showed his talent so early on just wasted it with what I'd consider a mediocre storyline. So honestly, I would not recommend the Glass family stories besides A Perfect Day for Banana Fish. That was a fantastic story, but yeah, SalingerVember just kind of came out as a kind of a bust for me. I love The Catcher in the Rye still, even though it's not my favorite book, but that's another thing. I realize it's not my favorite book anymore. The only book that really didn't disappoint me in some ways, 9 stories, but that was just, but even then, that was just it didn't impress me as much either. It just was hey, I like this just as much. So, yeah, that's just my opinion, guys. I know this is probably a shock to a lot of people, but that's just I think I've just progressed as a reader. Not saying that you should, like, oh, this is just, like, baby steps in classical literature. This is some pretty great stuff right here. It's just, you kind of outgrow these types of books. You know what I mean? I don't want to just all of a sudden turn my back on Salinger, but I don't think he's one of my favorite authors anymore. Well, I'm kind of am, because I'm practically putting him off my favorites list all of a sudden, but if he really only has one great novel, and honestly, after thinking about it, Salinger's kind of a one-hit wonder. Not in terms of actually, but in terms of quality, because actually he isn't. But for me, he kind of is, because The Catcher in the Rye was his only great success in terms of quality. Because there were still a couple stories in 9 stories I was really bored by. So, overall, I'm dragging this out. SalingerVember wasn't the greatest event that I thought it was going to be, so that's just me. So, the question now is, what's my new favorite book? Well, that's an interesting question, because right now it's technically Moby Dick by Herman Melville, which I still adore, but I want to give other books a chance. So that's why I have settled this year, 2017, the next year, to become the hunt for the greatest book ever. I will be taking any recommendations for your guys' favorite book, and if you think it's something up my alley, recommend it to me. So what this is pretty much doing, I'm going to be rereading a couple of my favorites that I think are going to be worthy of the title, and then I'm going to reread them and see which one will become my new favorite book of all time, besides replacing The Catcher in the Rye. So, the ones I've chosen so far, there's going to be more, but the ones I've chosen so far for the reread part is Middlesex by Jeffrey Eugenides, Donna Tartt's The Secret History, which is strange because I actually originally gave that a 3.5 out of 5 stars, thinking it was really pretentious at some points, but now I realize that's what Donna Tartt was supposed to do. And now I think it's absolutely brilliant. Like, because that was her end goal, to make these characters seem really pretentious and make them seem like horrible people. And then, there's Slaughterhouse by Kurt Vonnegut. Of course, Moby Dick I'm going to give a reread in 2017. And there's also going to be, what was that one? 1984 by George Orwell, because why not? Down with Big Brother. So, that's all. Those are the 5 that I have right now. I may add a few more later on, but those are just the 5 that I personally think are really worthy of becoming one of my favorite books. And I'm also going to give a couple other books some rereads this year, just because I want to reread them. Like, I want to reread The Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro, The Winterberg Chronicle by Haruki Murakami. And yeah, and you guys might be thinking, Grim, aren't these all books you've read this year? Well, first of all, well, yes, I have only been really reading for about 2 years now. And I've been on BookTube for almost a year, which we'll be celebrating this month. I started BookTube late December 2015, and it's early December 2016. Ah, yeah! Never Let Me Go. The Remains of the Day, The Winterberg Chronicle, I'm going to be rereading those, and I don't think I'm going to be rereading other ones yet, but, yeah, I just wanted to, but recently I reread, The Dinner by Herman Koch for Gobble-a-thon, which I don't think I'm going to be doing a wrap-up for, even though it is my own readathon, but, let's just say I met my goal, and I added another book going on. It's not called Going On, but we have I added another book along the way, which was, This Is Where It Ends by Marie Knizhkamp, I think it's how I pronounce her name. It was okay. But, The Winterberg Chronicle, I'm just repeating myself at this point. I really should stop this recording. Yeah, I'm just ending it right there. That's my plan. This is going to become the worst video I've ever created if I don't move on to the stack that I have right here, which will continue my book rant. So that was my final installment of SalingerVember. SalingerVember is officially over. Gobble-a-thon is officially over. I'm going to be participating in the Christmas BookTube-a-thon, but I'm not going to be like massively obsessive over it like I was with the first BookTube-a-thon, because this one's way smaller. It's only a weekend. But it's the last 3 days of 2016, so that's going to be good. So that's my updates, but not an update on what I'm currently reading or what I currently read, what I recently read. So let's get into that with She's Come Undone by Wally Lamb. This book started out fantastically. This was, like, really well done childhood story. It was about this little girl named Dolores? I keep pronouncing that name wrong. I did it with Lolita, I did it with Dolores Claiborne, and now I'm doing it with this. What is up with me? But, Dolores, she was a really fun character. The story was really engaging and really interesting, and then she grew up. And then she, went to a mental asylum. Spoiler alert! But, then it became every single story about female insanity that you've already read. But it's pretty much just a cheesy version of the Bell Jar, if you ask me. The second half is. So, personally, this book was extremely mediocre because the second half was really bad while the first half was really good, which just averages it out to be extremely mediocre. I think it's worth reading the first half. I don't think I've ever recommended just part of a book in my entire life, but if you want to read the first half of She's Come Undone, read the first half of She's Come Undone, but don't read the second half because run with your life from the second half, because it's really boring and really bad. So, yeah, She's Come Undone, it was just okay. Okay. I thought after having no new 5-star ratings in November, I thought I was done with a masterpiece reads. Then came The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. Yes, you heard me. I gave The Goldfinch another shot at being one of my favorites. And guess what? It's one of my new favorite books of all time. And this book made me realize I had to reread The Secret History because I just felt like I was in the wrong set of mind when I read The Secret History, and I needed to just give it another shot, and especially loving this. This is not going to be my favorite book of all time, just because I think it's just, I acknowledge this book isn't flawless. It's more of a fact of how much I enjoyed this book. Not since The Once and Future King have I really sat down and binged a book with the sense of adoring it. This is just one of the best books I've ever read in my entire life. I don't know what I was thinking with my first time reading this. It's a fantastic book. Donna Tartt's a true modern master, and I cannot recommend this book enough. It is phenomenal, especially with the story. I mean, the characters are fantastic. I mean, Theo is just wonderful. I like Boris. If you've read the book, Boris is really fun. Potter, but the story was what really took off in this book, and I'm not even going to explain the premise. Just trust me. Go read The Goldfinch. It's a masterpiece. Alright, the next book is a short story collection, and that is, This Is How You Lose Her by Junot Diaz, which is interesting because, let me rephrase that. I've read The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde and really didn't like it. But at the same time, that's another book I want to give another shot at. Because if I like this, I'm giving that book another chance. If I don't like this, then I'm stopping with Junot Diaz. And also, Junot Diaz is one of those authors, along with, Donna Tartt and Jeffrey Eugenides, who releases a book every, 5 or 6 years. But, I mean, he's not as bad as Eugenides and Tartt, but he still takes a while to write a book. And especially for these lengths, this took, 4 years to write, I think. And I don't want to be snappy because I've never written a book, but it just kind of seems small, you know what I mean? But This Is How You Lose Her. I've heard he's much better with his short stories than with his novels, but this is just supposed to be one of the greatest short story collections. People are calling it one of their favorites, if not their favorite short story collection, so why not give it a shot? So yeah. Okay, I know how much I praised Kate File for her video on YA and how much she changed, but I do want to get into more series, but this one just sounded interesting, guys. I know, I probably sound like a massive hypocrite right now. No, scrap that. I am a massive hypocrite. But I'm gonna try Illuminae by, what the crap are their names? Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I also got Gemini, which are the first 2 books in the trilogy. So I'm guessing the last book will come out in 2017, but, they look interesting. I will admit, these sound really, really interesting. It's about, these, 2 corporations that, own planets, and they, go to war with each other, and then there's, this boy and girl who get separated, which, that part I'm not the biggest fan of, but the corporation part and the war part just sounds interesting to me. It's gonna be a light and easy read, if you ask me, because sure, they're long books, but I'll show you the inside. I'll show you the first page. I'll show you this page. Humongous text, interview style. This will be interesting, to say the least. So, Illuminate and Gemini, I hope I like the series, so I can give a series some shot. Series a shot. Ugh. Words aren't my forte today. And then the final book for the video is A Little Life by, I'm gonna get this, Yana, I already messed up. Yana Gahara. Yes, I got it! Yana Gahara, there we go. A Little Life is supposed to be fantastic. I think it's about, like, I remember Adam over at Memento Mori. Why am I so bad at words today? He hated this book, but at the same time, he really, he said it was just so, like, it was pretty much torture porn. That's what it was. As he described it, because he made a whole video about torture porn books, and this was included in there. So, that alone made me interested, because even though he gave a bad review, this book still interested me, especially for its length. So, I'm gonna give this a shot. I don't know what it's... Actually, I know what it's about, and it sounds really amazing, so I don't know how it will be like, oh my god, this is so bad. But anyway, that's the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Comment down below on what you guys thought of the video. I know this wasn't my greatest video in the world, but I wanted to get my message across there, because I had some major updates to come across. So anyway, I'm Mega Man Chief Fan, and I'll see you later, guys.